What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm, DFS Alarm, college football live stream here on Saturday, October 23rd. We've got plenty of college football action today, week 8 in college football. I'm here with my guy, Pete Cole. As always, we do every Saturday morning. How you doing, Pete?
What's up, Danny? Doing well. A little under the weather here, so hope you guys can hear me. But yeah, as you said, October 23rd. That's right. Before you know, it's Halloween, right? And then Thanksgiving, and we're in bowl games. So this
I know. We got
week 8.
college basketball starting up soon, huh?
Yeah, in like less than 3 weeks, 2 weeks probably.
Yeah, it's coming. We got this is the time where we start seeing the good teams get real. All the for college for DFS at least it keeps the core players become like our main focus on these kind of slates where it's like we know who's going to come through at this point. We've got a ton of trends stats wise from defenses, from offenses, and who's emerging as like the go-to guys. But then we also have some up and comers. We had last week we were all debating the Minnesota backfield, and we have Minnesota on the slate today. So we got that running back Bryce Williams to definitely discuss on the slate. It'll be a good day. We got 12 games on this main slate, and that's what we'll be focusing on for this live stream. I have the main slate playbook up on dfsalarm.com, but Pete has the night slate covered for you guys if you want to check that out.
That should be up, right?
Yeah. And after this live stream, obviously, while you're watching games today, just go and build some lineups and watch and play college football DFS all day. So why not? Also on the Discord, we'll be answering your questions as always. So get in there, the Fantasy Alarm, DFS Alarm Discord channel, and we'll be answering your questions if you guys got lineup questions. And always, as we do on this Saturday, we're bringing you those live injury updates from warm-ups, at least for the noon games, and we have 6 of those on this main slate, and then another 6 for the later games in the 3 o'clock window. But this early window, overall in the slate, Pete, we only have a couple games. We have 3 games with totals at 60 or higher, which is a little different than I'm used to for DFS, because we're used to these high scoring games and having at least 5 maybe on the slate that you're trying to pick and choose and get exposure to each of those high scoring games. But we only have 3, and 2 of them are in this early window. Oklahoma, Kansas, and Oklahoma, obviously the team to target there. They're 30 and 38-point favorites, but a 66.5 over/under. Kansas State, Texas Tech, 60.5 over/under, and Kansas State's only a 1-point favorite. So, kind of a pick 'em there. Both sides are going to be looking at that one. Oregon, UCLA, same thing, 60.5 over/under. And then UCLA is a pick 'em. That they're only 1-point favorites right now. But then the big one is Lsu Ole Miss, and we're going to start right there because that leads us right into quarterback. Ole Miss 7.5-point favorites right now, 77 over/under. But this is a big issue because we got Matt Corral, right? We got this whole Matt Corral thing. We don't know if he's going to play. I don't know. I want to hear your take on this because I think he's going to play. Just a quick background is we had Lane Kiffin say, we don't know if he's ready to play. I don't know if I'm comfortable playing him. He apparently suffered an injury. We don't know what injury he suffered last week.
But he couldn't walk.
Yeah, he ran the ball a ton in that game, so it was probably just being sore.
Yeah, good point.
But Ed Orgeron, the LSU coach, said he fully expects Corral to play. So he thinks it's just gamesmanship by Kiffin saying, we don't know if he's going to play. Yeah, and LSU, Mississippi is still in it, from a conference standpoint, and you're obviously still trying to win games here. So if Corral can go, he's going to be out there. I don't know. What do you think? You expect him to play because he's 10-2 on DraftKings, and obviously being the highest total, Ole Miss being one of those offenses we're always targeting, and Corral being a Heisman contender, obviously. So, how are you approaching that situation?
It's good. Now, you know what? It's a good question because that's a late game, correct? It's a 3:30 game.
Yeah, it's 3:30.
So, like as of right now, I do have Corral in my main lineup. I just think he's too good. Great, it's a huge game environment with a huge, total implied. And what are they looking at? They're looking at 42 points, 42-25. I think.
Yeah.
You got to play. Though I guess the question is if we find out he's not playing, if we find out, at 3:00 or whatever. I guess the question is, where do you pivot? And you can play. I'm assuming it'd be Kincaid. Dent would be the next man up. He's 96. That's what I'm assuming.
I actually think it's going to be Altmaier.
But then there's the other guy there too, right?
Yeah, he was kind of he came in relief last week when Corral briefly left the game with whatever injury he was dealing with. It was Altmaier that came in. Altmaier, and he's only 4,500. Which, if he plays, if he ends up starting,
Parrish, that didn't work out too well.
No, yeah, Parrish gave you some rushing, I guess, but it was. I mean, Memphis last night was a dumpster fire. That was bad.
But I guess if you got to pull Corral, so if you have him locked in your main and Corral doesn't play, do you go with his backup, or these other 3:30 games? Who else do you have? You got.
I think it also depends on who your second quarterback is.
Who I'm really high on too. I guess. Yeah, but once again, right. I guess are you going with Skyler? Are you going with Max Johnson? So of course, there's a lot of factors, but I guess the question: do you go with Corral's backup? Or go somewhere else?
Yeah, like say you have if you have Corral in, and you also have say you already have Max Johnson, you could probably pivot down to like one of the DTR, Thompson Robinson from UCLA or Anthony Brown from Oregon, because that's the later game too, and kind of pay up. DTR. Yeah, pay up somewhere else. So the whole Corral thing, I think he's going to play. I would expect him to play. Like if you're trying to figure out right now building lineups, I would assume he plays. But I will say I don't think he's going to run as much that he has been. Last week he had 195 rushing yards. He's not going to have that again because he fumbled twice, and he had. I just think he's getting to a point where. Like Lane Kiffin's been riding him as a runner, but last week he ran more because Jarian Ely was still returning from an injury, and I think the whole game flow. I mean, the run was working with him, so why not keep it going? And they won the game against Tennessee, but I could see them throwing more in this game. So I mean, that's still Corral throwing it, but I wouldn't expect all that rushing from him. Which you could look at the Ole Miss running backs more because I think they'll probably see more work.
And Ely's cheap. Very cheap.
Yeah, and we could talk about that right now because he's 4K. I mean, he's a starting running back when healthy. So he had a concussion a couple games ago, sat out a game. Last week he was back in there though, only had 9 touches, 7 rush attempts. But like I said, they use Corral as the runner a lot. But I mean, so Ely, I mean, he was good last year, was the lead guy last year. This year he hasn't really got it going, but they still use Parrish and Connor a lot in this offense. But I mean, 4K is just impossible to ignore there. I think he'll be popular, probably in cash and GPP just because of the price, right?
Yeah, and we know Lane Kiffin's one of those guys that likes his players healthy, so I'm assuming he was easing him in. But he was more easing him in last week.
Yeah,
and I'm assuming we'll see more of him. But yeah, it's probably too much of a chance of taking cash, even though I love that price. But definitely a GPP play. And the other guy, I hate dealing with these 3-man committees because you never know which one is going to go off. And everyone could very well Connor go off, Parrish go off. So, but Ely is definitely the interesting one. And making more than one lineup, I would probably slide him in somewhere. Because this game could go off. And Ely could be the high-scoring player of the slate. Very, very easy could be.
I mean, yeah, when you compare him to the other guys in that backfield, so Snoop Connor's, I mean, 6,900 for him is insane. I know he scored twice last week and three times the game before that. But again, Ely was out, and last week they kind of eased him back in, come back from concussion, and
Right.
I mean Connor was kind of like the hot hand, and he's been their touchdown guy down near the goal line anyway. But 6,900 is just way too expensive. And then Parrish, I mean he's had he's had a couple good games this year, but like still like the split backfield, you see Ely should not be 1,300 less than Parrish. So
absolutely not.
yeah, Ely is for sure in play. But yeah, with the Corral thing, so an interesting thing to note. So I just want to roll out all the possible situations. If Corral is out, which I don't think is going to happen, but if he is out, I think Altmaier at 4,500 is hard to like not play, because if he's going to be named the starting quarterback, I think it's going to be him over Dent, just because we saw Altmaier come in last week in that relief role. But another name to just kind of think about, and this isn't a wide receiver poll, that's John Reese Plumlee. If you guys remember him, I mean, it was him and Corral battling for that starting quarterback job not too long ago, last year or 2 years ago maybe. But Plumlee now, converted receiver, but they might use him more, in the Wildcat rotation, or this offense could get creative, probably more run heavy if Corral is out. But Plumlee at 3,500, that would be interesting. He could easily break the slate too.
Yep, very easily.
Yeah. So let's keep going through these quarterbacks here. So we got Caleb Williams, Oklahoma, 9,800. Going against Kansas should smash. I think the worry with him though is always just how much. Yeah, the blowout factor. Yeah, anybody that's playing Kansas, the blowout factor. And honestly, in this game, I wouldn't be surprised if Spencer Rattler comes in at some point. And just because they have two, why not just give Rattler some run there if the game's already in hand in the second half? I mean, so how are you approaching Williams? Because it's like if you're not playing Corral, then you're looking at Williams. But it's hard for me to play him in cash. I mean, GPP, yeah, he could go off, but I can't trust it.
I mean, the problem in slate is there isn't a lot of awesome, like great quarterbacks. Besides Corral, you'd want to use. I mean, you'd love to use a guy like Caleb Williams, but he needs 5 or 6 TDs like in the first or second quarter to make value, because at least in the first half, because he's probably going to be sitting most of the second half. And that's the same problem with Kenny Brooks. And I was on Brooks earlier until I realized the blowout. So, I like Williams a lot, but GBP. You can't. I just don't think you can take that chance. But he could definitely end up with a huge game and $400 cheaper than Corral. But yeah, GBP only, especially with that price.
Yeah, the thing with this Oklahoma offense too, it's like you could see Williams getting a lot of those touchdowns or being involved in a lot of the touchdowns, but like you said, Brooks could be the guy. We could see Eric Gray have a good game and score multiple touchdowns. Maybe one of the backup running backs is GPPs. You kind of lock in, maybe Knowles or Hudson, but I mean that's obviously risky. But same thing with the
Gray game. Finally, he has not a game yet this year. Really, this could be it.
For who?
Eric Gray.
Yeah, I mean, I originally was looking at him 5,200. I just don't know how much run he's going to get, because I look back at if you're comparing other games that so Oklahoma's 39 point favorites, 38 now point favorites in this game. I mean, it's going to be a blowout, obviously. The only other game that they had a blowout situation was against who's WCU? I didn't even know.
Western Carolina.
Western Carolina. Yeah, I was gonna say something else, but yeah. So Western Carolina, they won 76-0. Obviously, a easy FCS school, but in that game, Eric Gray only had 9 carries, 74 yards. If he scores a touchdown, yeah, it's good. He caught a receiving touchdown, but it's not like he was, leaned on in the second half in that one in a blowout. It was they put in the other backups, so which we could see here, because Oklahoma, is all of a sudden like a legit national title contender. They want to keep their guys healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gray and Brooks are kind of sitting out the second half.
So it really isn't any of these guys in Oklahoma is cash viable.
I don't think so. I mean, the one guy, we could talk about right now is, and I look at all the receivers. I can't pay up Marvin Mims. Yeah, Michael Woods is the only one just because he's 4,400.
That's not. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's not a bad price.
Yeah, I don't think he should be under 5K, but even that, it's risky because he could have 2 catches before the starters kind of chill. So, I mean, it's obviously a risk, but I think that's why I think I'd rather take the risk at a lower price, like 4,400, compared to Marvin Mims at 7,300 or Hazelwood even at 5,400. I wouldn't want to play those guys. I mean, obviously, in tournaments they could both or either one catch multiple touchdowns like they have been in the last couple games, but I think that we just don't know where the touchdowns are going to come from this, and Kansas's rush defense is terrible. So this could be a situation where they just kind of lean on the run and don't even care about passing much, because they're already going to be up 21-0 before you and this is a noon game. This could be 21-0 by 1 o'clock.
In the first quarter. Yeah, the game's going to be over by end of the first quarter, probably.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Kansas is terrible. So, all right, well then moving on from that one. So yeah, if you're going, say you're not playing Corral, then you also looking at Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett. We mentioned Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Anthony Brown. I guess that's kind of like the topper tier. Even you can even get one of those guys as your super flex if you're playing Corral and find value elsewhere. I think Thompson-Robinson obviously stands out, and he'll probably be popular, I think, on this slate because of his price and because, this is one of the higher totals I mentioned at the start of the live stream. We only have a few games that are above 60 over-under, and this UCLA Oregon game is one of them. And, DTR gives you some rushing. He's been better on the ground lately, scoring more touchdowns on the ground. I think UCLA, the offense, Chip Kelly's just he's a lot more comfortable using him as kind of that dual threat, read option guy than maybe we saw last year. And I think it's made him a really good DFS play, and he's still too cheap at 8,100. So
and the more I'm looking, like if I'm not using Corral for some reason, I'm going right to DTR because this is I love his floor. He's averaging 24 fantasy points a game. He's never been below 21. He's actually faced some pretty decent pass defenses. And I imagine Oregon's probably the worst pass defense he's faced all year. So they're 107. Yeah. There's 107th in quarterback fantasy points a game, 110 in pass yards per game. So I definitely could see DTR hitting value. I like him a lot. And Oregon hasn't seen too many dual threats this year. So to me, DTR is a great cash play. I just don't know with Corral. I think you almost have to play Corral. He's going to be high owned. You know what I mean? But if he's not for some reason out, I would go right. DTR is like my second favorite in that price range.
I gotta say, I'm actually leaning more. In my main cash is not even playing Corral and just looking at Thompson-Robinson because I like him and I like a couple of these other quarterbacks we're going to get to in a sec. I just like. I think the price is way too cheap on Thompson-Robinson. Yeah. I just like if he was 9K, I'd probably still play him. I mean, he should be, and I want to compare him to like Desmond Ridder. I'm going Thompson-Robinson all day. I think I'm going to DTR in my main lineup. Yeah. But even you could do Corral and then Thompson-Robinson as your super flex. That is definitely an option here because he's cheap enough. But you just have to find enough value elsewhere. I think we're going to get to some because I like a couple very cheap running backs and receivers today that we talked about Jerrion Ely. That's definitely an option that you can put in there. But yeah, so when I look at Thompson-Robinson, I also think you can stack up him and Anthony Brown in the same game. Because Brown is having to rush more now with Verdell out. And it's raised his floor more. His passing is up and down. It's hard to trust that, but he's rushing more lately. He's got 3 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 games combined, and at least 35 rushing yards in all but one game. And that one game was a blowout win, so it doesn't matter. But I think his floor, like he basically is going to give you 20 points at least in DFS. And I just like that floor. And I think you can easily just game stack Thompson, Robinson, Brown, and feel good about it, and figure it out elsewhere. Yeah, obviously neither one gives you the really good ceiling of Corral, but like I think if you're someone that's like, all right, I'm just gonna avoid fade Corral, or say in that late window, Corral is ruled out, you can just be like, all right, I'm going Thompson, Robinson, Brown from that late window because they're both playing at the same time. I think that's an interesting strategy.
Can you play Brown and Travis Dye together? Because I'm all over Travis Dye today too.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of off.
Oregon, huh?
I'm kind of off Dye because UCLA's rush defense has been good this year.
I just think Dye he does everything now, and
he's gonna get the volume for sure. Yeah.
Which I love, in cash. But I think, this UCLA defense is tough. I mean, they're 9th ranked in the country right now.
Yeah,
they did in Washington. I think Arizona too. They were under 3 yards a game. 3 yards a carry the last couple of games. So yeah, they're not letting anybody move the ball.
I mean, yeah, I totally get the Dye play because he's getting a ton of receiving since Verdell's been out too. So
the Oregon's got a nice offensive line. That's probably the best part of their team's on offensive line. So
yeah, I like it. I think Dye might be more like in the GPP price range. Like if he was in the 6Ks, I think he'd be a lot better of a play. Like 7.4 is a little tough, especially when he's not as much lower than Deuce Vaughn, say, or he's a little bit higher than Blake Corum or Charbonnet.
Yeah, I think I'm valuing him too a little bit too much when I'm looking at some of these, especially at that 87 price. No, it's 74. It's 87 FanDuel. So even
74. Yep. Yeah.
So you got what's Jerome Ford 83? Okay.
The volume though is like it's obviously something we always love with our running backs. So I don't blame you at all there. I mean, I looked at him for sure and I was like, I think the matchup is a little tougher for me to like kind of trust in cash at least, but I get it. I'm just looking at our Discord here, and a reminder: go to our Discord, ask any questions. We got Dirty Dangles saying he missed the start. No worries, man. Did they say avoid Oklahoma quarterbacks in cash because it will be a blowout? We did.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think the Caleb Williams, I mean, he obviously can smash and go off, but we talked about Kansas's rush defense being terrible. They might just lean on the ground, and it could be where one or both of the lead running backs score all the touchdowns, and it's not really a Caleb Williams rushing day as we've seen the last couple games. So yeah, I wouldn't play Williams in cash, especially when he's just barely under Corral there. So a lot of these cheaper quarterbacks, I think like Max Johnson is very interesting at 7,200. We have Christian Anderson for Army announced that he will be playing. He's back. He gives you a ton of rushing floor. I think he's interesting now.
Yep,
I originally had
GPP play.
Yeah, definitely
GPP.
I liked
it before I realized that Anderson was playing today.
Yeah. Any of these other guys, I mean, I think the one other down the list is Scour Thompson for Kansas State.
Yeah, that's my man.
Now back healthy after a knee injury. The only issue with him is he had a rushing touchdown last week against Iowa State, but he is not the dual threat guy that we've seen in the past right now. I think they're playing it safe because he had that knee injury early in the year and is now
he's being cautious he's being cautious too running.
Yeah, he's being cautious. It's clear that he's probably dealing with something still, and they're just kind of, he might need off-season surgery, that kind of thing, because it doesn't seem like he's fully healthy. but he's back playing.
It's the price.
And yeah, but 6K. And this game we mentioned, so Kansas State, Texas Tech, one of the only ones that's above 60 over under on the slate. And this, I think both sides of this game, it's probably going to be back and forth. Kansas State's defense is tougher, so if I was going to look at one side, it would be Kansas State over the Texas Tech offense. And Texas Tech's defense has been not great this year at all, both through the air or on the ground. So I like Thompson here for sure. I think 6K he'll probably make him popular too, right?
Yep, and he's probably going to be my super flex.
Yeah,
if I run a DTR Corral and then go in Schuyler, because all we need is 18 points from him to make value. I mean, you can definitely tell that he's favored and that he's not running like, so he's gonna have to throw the ball well. I mean, because we know he's being cautious with those legs. So he only carried the ball 8 times in the last 2 weeks. But I still think he's projected high enough where at 6K, I think you take it. I think we can easily get 20 DK points out of him. Easy. I mean, Texas defense right now is ranked 77th in the quarterbacks fantasy points game, 66 in pass yards. They're so they give up 224 a game. Yeah, I'm locking in Schuyler as my value. If not Schuyler, I'm going to Max Johnson.
Yeah, I really like Scour, and I think he makes it possible to play Corral and feel good about it, because
So
if you think about it, you're basically playing like 2 8K quarterbacks in the same lineup, but the Heat, Thompson's a 6K and Corral's 10K. So
there you go. But even if we've seen I'm one thing I'm dropping down in DTRs. We've seen most of the year. You don't have to go with these high price. If you look at some of these GPP winning lineups, most of these guys are rolling, middle price guys. They're not rolling the 10K guys. But I guess say you drop down a DTR as your main quarterback. Then you bump up Schuyler to Max Johnson. Because I still think Max Johnson at 72 is too cheap for when you got a 35 implied. Ole Miss is Ole Miss is not exactly a shutdown defense. I see they're allowing 25 fantasy points a game to quarterbacks. So I think Max is my second value after Schuyler, if I can get up to him.
Yeah, I like Max Johnson for sure. Yeah, the only worry I have is that like they've been leaning on the run with Davis Price more lately. But I mean, like even last week against Florida, he threw for 3 touchdowns. Yeah, I like Max Johnson for sure. And I think 70, like if you're just like taking the name off or the team or whatever, and you look at a quarterback in this high of a game total, they're only 7.5 point underdogs, and he's 7,200. I think that's really good. Especially we've seen Ole Miss just getting shootouts every single week. So yeah, I like that.
One of the low price guy I like of course GBP's only is going to be cheap is the Tech quarterback Plumlee. I don't know if it's more of a gut feeling, but I think this game, with the way the game tip's going to roll, I do have some interest in him. And he's only 60? He's 63. They're going to be playing catch up, so I think he's got some decent upside to him.
Yeah, I don't mind that as a tournament target there. This game we're talking about Scour Thompson, but the other side of that, it's like this game's going to be probably back and forth. The going against the Kansas State defense a little tougher for me, but I get it. 63 is just way too cheap. We had dirty on the Discord saying Sam Hartman. I'm avoiding Sam Hartman. I think I just hate playing quarterbacks that are going against Army. I just because they're not going to get a ton of possessions. Yeah. Army's just going to be running the ball and limiting how many times Hartman actually touches it. And I could, maybe I'll be wrong, but I'd rather just go elsewhere. And I compare him to Anthony Brown. I'd much rather play Anthony Brown for 7,900. So, yeah, sorry about that. I'm off of him for sure.
Yeah, I don't even have him. I have like 20 players ranked. He's on my list. So yeah, but I do like Ja'Cory. I do like Ja'Cory's price. But no, I'm not messing
Yeah.
with Hartman.
Yeah. By the way, we got some little injury news here, and this is what we give you guys on a live stream here. If you're not checking Twitter, but Sean Clifford, we didn't even talk about him, but quarterback for Penn State, he is throwing in warmups right now.
Oh, okay.
You know, he's been banged up, left the last game, but he had the bye week to get healthy. You know, I expect him to play, but you know, I'm not interested in him or really the Penn State passing game in this game against Illinois. I just, you know, big favorites, low total. I think they're probably going to run the ball more than anything is Penn State. So I'm not looking at Clifford.
I got
But he is playing. Yeah, is it the Oklahoma?
Yeah, I guess Woods is going to be out.
Woods so it looks like Mario Williams and Mike Woods both are going to be out. This is Gabe Icard from he's a host on a Sirius XM Big 12 channel, but Oklahoma radio guy too.
He's a former NFL player, NFL journeyman.
I didn't know. Yeah, I don't know who he is.
I just pulled him up. It's a former retired NFL journeyman.
Yeah, he's got a ton of followers. I mean, he probably was in the league. Someone probably knows him out there. But anyway, he's saying he would be surprised if Mike Woods plays. So we mentioned him as a possible value. I guess you could cross him off, and no Mario Williams either in that Oklahoma receiving core. Which I guess, you know, kind of you can look more at the other guys because, you know, the targets are more going to some of the other guys, you know, Hazelwood maybe. But, you know, I just, like I mentioned, it's just tough to play these guys because you don't know who's going to be scoring the touchdowns and who's going to be, you know, if it's going to be run heavy scheme. So
does this actually bump up a guy like Hazelwood a little bit? I mean, if they're going to put up 50 points or whatever, somebody's got to catch the ball. I mean, when Williams is out,
right.
Woods is out. I mean, I'm not paying 73 for Mims, but I mean,
I think if I was going to Hazelwood over Mims for sure, you know, comparing the prices, you know, about 2,000 cheaper. So I also could see, you know, just how the Oklahoma offense is. I could see like, you know, someone like Austin Stogner catching a touchdown or two, or Jeremiah Hall catching a touchdown, or, you know, Drake Stoops catching a touchdown. Like I think it's gonna be spread out either way. But I mean, I think GPPs. I think like Hazelwood, Mims are more in play now for sure.
Yeah, I'm just staying away from this game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just that's my feel is I'm just kind of staying away. But as you said, like Jason Bean at 5,200 is interesting because Oklahoma's defense. You know, I don't know. I don't know about that, but I've seen some people suggest him. But
I was just gonna say I know people that are talking about playing him. But,
I mean the price tag is like really. I was like, 5,200. Like, yeah, I'll look at that. But nah, I'm just kind of avoiding that.
This game script's there, and he can, and he's got legs, but no, I'm not.
I'd rather just go elsewhere. Let's go to running backs here. You know, Bryce Hall at the top here. I think the matchup against Oklahoma State's tough though, but obviously it's Bryce Hall. You know, he's going to get the volume. He's one of the more sure things in college football DFS. So 9,400 is tough to swallow, especially if you're talking about playing Corral or any of the other high-priced guys. But, you know, GPPs, go for it. You know, tough to play in cash, though, right, Pete?
Yeah. I remember saying to people last week with Bijan, like I said, I'm just going to start playing Bijan every week no matter what, you know, because he's so expensive. And you pretty much say the same thing about Hall. And then it comes to Saturday, you don't get that price. But man, I mean, if you have the money,
I know
you lock Bryce Hall in. But at least he's one of those guys you know you're going to get.
Well, last week, it's like, you know, last week we had we had Bijan, going against Oklahoma State, so the same exact matchup.
And I kicked myself for not playing Bijan last week, you know. So
I did too, but I don't know. I'm like I was kind of upset last week that Bijan had such a good game, not because like, you know, I don't like him or anything, but because everyone played him in cash. He was like he was popular, But I was just thinking about it. I was like, he should not be. I mean, he's like a Heisman contender, but he should not have like had a really good game like that. I mean, it was the matchup against Oklahoma State is tougher than that, and maybe Bijan Robinson's talent is transcendent of that, but and Breece Hall could be too. So it's that's why I'm comparing the two, because it's like maybe I'm leaning too much on the matchup, thinking that it's going to be a tough day on the ground. But I mean, we've seen Breece Hall basically be matchup proof. So
yeah, which I think he is, especially this year.
Yeah, I mean, even against a solid K-State defense last week, he had 197 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, that's smash right there. But yeah, 9,400 is tough to stomach there, especially if you're playing Corral.
But yeah, so he's a GPP. I mean, he's pretty much a GPP play.
Yeah.
The same with Brooks. I think Brooks is too expensive too at 86, especially with the blowout. So
he's priced way up now, and I can't play him there. If he was in like a game that we knew was gonna be close, like I'd look more at him. But I'm not looking at him here. Jerome Ford, shout out to you, by the way. Last week you said it was gonna be a Jerome Ford smash game, and it was.
Yeah, it was.
He was the guy scoring touchdowns instead of Desmond Ritter.
It was crazy.
Every time I was like looking up and I was like, oh, he scored another touchdown. So. Obviously he could do that again. It looks kind of like that they're leaning on Ford, trying to take pressure off, trying to keep Ritter healthy, and which I get, because they got real aspirations to go to the college football playoff. So they don't really want to run Ritter right now, especially if this game's going to be over probably quickly. Cincinnati is 29.5-point favorites right now. So, yeah, that we didn't even talk about Ritter much because it's just blowout factor. But same thing with Ford, but he's a guy that could get there like he did last week, even though like that game was a blowout. They were big favorites, but Ford could get there again. How do you feel about Ford? Because last week you liked him, but it's tougher to go back-to-back weeks with this.
Yeah, and I think he is viable. I mean, Navy is surprisingly not that great against the run. I just had them pulled up here, and they.
Well, the thing with Navy too, it's
38.
It's real interesting because Cincinnati's huge favorites, right? But the total is only 48.5. So it's like, obviously Cincinnati's been being able to put up big totals here in every game, and that game could go over. Who knows? But I could also see in that game just being like a, 40-10, maybe, and it's like, oh well, maybe Ford doesn't have as good of a day.
It's not a lot of snaps when you're playing against Navy.
Yeah, the Navy triple options kind of keeping the offense off the field as often as we like. So
you're right. He's more of a GPP play because I think you pretty much. I'm trying to get 3 running backs if I can. But once again, Deuce is a core play. He's gonna be popular. He's the best running back in the slate. But I'm going back and forth because they're pretty much the same prices. I love these Michigan runners, and I even have both Michigan runners in some lineups together. Haskins and Corum, I think both of them can easily get 100 yards and a touchdown against Northwestern. Mike, it's a good question for you because I was debating this before you went on the show. Like I said, I'm running Deuce in the cash now, and I have TDP and Haskins are both the same price, $100 difference. I love these Michigan runners, but if you lock between those two, I can't make a decision on TDP or Haskins. I like Haskins better than Corian because of the price. But man, TDP he's been for LSU with that game environment. I mean, they're obviously using him. You know what I mean? They're obviously once their stud went down a receiver, and are they gonna go to 3 straight weeks? Because he's put up monster numbers. I can't decide between those two, between the Michigan or TDB. I want one of those guys in my cash lineup.
I think I lean Davis Price.
I think so too. The more I'm looking at it, close though. But so you always have the two, Haskins and Corum both together. I think they're both going to do great. I think they're both going to get over 20 fantasy, but you never know. So anytime you're dealing with these RBBCs, there's always that chance that one's going to go off one of them. And TVP's been fire.
Yeah, we have seen games where Haskins and Corum could both have good games.
And I think today is going to be one of those games too.
Yeah, probably. Northwestern's rush defense hasn't been good.
It's horrible.
It's bad.
They're on 30 fantasy points a game. The running back, like 27, 28.
Yeah, we could see a situation where both have 100+ yards and multiple touchdowns. Michigan's massive favorites in this one, 23.5.
We saw that last week, right, with Spiller.
Yep.
And Ashaney, whatever his name is, and I really think these two could definitely do it too. I think they're in a great situation, and I said I am running some GPPs of them together, but
see that, and this is why, like, so you just mentioned that you're going to play Haskins over Corum, and I would too because of the price. But this is a slate where Corum's going to have a big game, and no one's going to be playing him because Haskins is cheaper. Yeah.
Yep. So GVPs, you definitely roll Corum over Haskins if you have the money.
Yep.
Or run them both, like I am.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Yeah, I think Davis Price though, just the game being closer, and I think like
I think the high score in this game.
Yeah, the higher total is just something I can't ignore. When whenever Ole Miss is on the slate, it's like I know this game's gonna be a shootout, so why not get as much as I can from the game?
And is Ole Miss game planning to shut down TVP and and then say come beat us with these inexperienced, these kids, neighbors, and these guys too. That's another thing that worries me. This TVP has also shown us that he could disappear a lot more than he's shown us, what he's done the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
he's been a disappointment since his first game in the SEC until 2 weeks ago. So,
yeah, I think I'm just trying to compare the two in my mind, and it's really going back and forth because Ole Miss rush defense has not been good. They're giving up about 198 rushing yards a game and 4 touchdowns on the ground through 6 games. But then when you look at Northwestern's defense, 206 rushing yards a game, and also 14 scores over 6 games. So but Davis Price he is the guy in the LSU backfield, right? Compared to Haskins and Corum splitting work here. So I think that has me leaning slightly to Davis Price. But I don't blame you either way. The one thing that's annoying with Davis Price too, he has no work in the receiving game, which is I don't understand. But they just don't use him as a receiver out of the backfield at all. Anyway, yeah, that's so that's an interesting development. Just kind of
name
trying to choose.
In that price range, I like is Zach Charbonneau.
Yeah, he's interesting.
Yeah, I used him last week, and he's been carrying the ball over 20 times over the last 4 games straight. So he plus it's on the 5-yard line. He's got 9 carries. So I'm interested in him. Like we said Deuce. We talked about Dye. I still like Dye because he's going to get all the work. But you might have pushed him off a little bit. I think you're right. Pretty much it in that range, right? I don't see too much. I guess another question is the Penn State mess. And do we have any more information on that? Because I do like Noah Cain. I think he's too cheap. If all these other guys are out, we don't know, right?
Well, so I see a warm-up update here on Twitter. John Lovett and Devin Ford are warming up in pregame for this. This is a noon kickoff for Penn State.
Yeah,
in the playbook, I wrote about Kevon Lee being interesting because he's been more productive on the ground than Noah Cain in the last couple of games. But with Lovett and Ford being back, they might just rotate in and out these guys, and it's going to be they're 24-point favorites over Illinois, at home, low total. It's going to be a blowout and probably a comfortable win. So I think it's trust to play any of them in cash, but. I wrote about Kevon Lee thinking that Ford and Lovett were going to be out, but it has me a little hesitant, I guess now.
I'm not messing with it.
The Illinois rush defense, is kind of middle of the pack, but like it's going to be hard to stop Penn State. I do think Penn State's going to be like having a more run heavy offense with Clifford being dealing with his injury. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, the Penn State guy, I'm off Noah Cain though, just because like I think like he has not been great on the ground. He's so last what 1, 2, 3, 4 the last 4 weeks he's averaged less than 3 yards a carry. And just not been getting it done. Even in like big wins for Penn State, he's just not even getting, double-digit carries often. So I don't like him as much. The one guy we didn't talk about yet was Minnesota running back Bryce Williams. How popular do you think he'll be on this slate? Just because of what we saw last week, it's clear he's the guy. As soon as we think that, maybe it changes. But I think he should be the lead guy. We always see Minnesota just have a workhorse. And last week we thought it would be maybe Irving, and then it was like, oh, maybe it's Kai Thomas, maybe it's Bryce Williams, and it ended up being Williams. They all got carries in that game, but it was clear Williams, just because kind of the hot hand and was having more success. So, but he's 5,400 now, just gets a little price jump.
It's a good question. That's a good point too, because we know what these Minnesota runners will do if they let him loose, right? They'll totally lean on him. And I think he may come across as the sneaky play of the day, and I don't think he's gonna be that high owned. But I think people are still worried about, was it just a hot hand last week?
I gotta say, as soon as I saw Minnesota was on the slate, I immediately went to the running backs just to see what his price was, and I expected him to be above 6K on the slate. I just thought they would be a lot. I mean, no, 5,400 is a big jump, but I thought they would be more reactionary and just be like, all right, it's the Minnesota lead back. We got to price them up. And Maryland's rush defense hasn't been, they were bad last year. They aren't much better this year. So I could see him and Minnesota's favored in this game at home. They might, and they're always just going to lean on the run and lean on one running back. I don't mind him as a guy to look at here. And maybe he goes overlooked because he's like not that. He's not as he's just kind of lower in the price range than a lot of the guys we were just talking about. So it might make him less popular. But I love his price. I think he's a great cash play.
Yeah, and I think I'm starting to like him more and more too. I think he's gonna be low owned. I like Servodidio Thompson a lot too. Same price range. Okay. I think that game's gonna be back and forth, and you haven't seen Thompson in the passing game as much as we thought we were gonna see. But as he's back, I really think he's gonna be a sleeper today. Not gonna be very low owned. So I do like the Bryce Williams call, and to me he's probably close to main lineup. Which I do like I'm liking the receiver today. I'm liking Chris Ottman-Bell. I guess we can. We're getting late, anyways. I guess we can go with the receivers. I like Chris Ottman-Bell. For Minnesota. Yeah,
let's go over receivers here.
He just threw last week.
He did. So that was an interesting one for me because like he had a massive game, 11 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown, but he didn't do much before that. I mean, why do you like him? I mean, he gets a little bit of a price jump. Like, why do you like him as much as you're saying?
And I know it was a career day. So he had 12 targets, caught the ball 11 times. The main thing is Maryland team is in shambles right now. Everybody's hurt. The whole team is on an injury report. The offense and defense. So I think they're going to target him again another 12, 13 times. Is the price the greatest? No. But the main reason for Ottman-Bell, I've always liked him. I liked him a lot last year. It's just been his injuries. He's been always slowed down with injuries, and he seems to be finally 100%. And I think he's a really good receiver, and they're finally getting a chance to see him. So is he is he a top player? It's like no, but he's like my sneak play of the day. I don't think he's not going to come in really high owned.
Yeah, I don't mind that call. I think I initially didn't look at him as much because it was like a lower total in this Maryland-Minnesota game, and maybe he was priced up a bit because if I compare him to like, if I compare him to like, Izukanma on Texas Tech, I think I like him a little bit more. But Altman Bell's a solid play there. By the way, you're talking about Maryland's receiving core. All these injuries. So they got Demas out for the year, and they now have Jay Sean Jones out for the year. A couple of these, cheap receivers are going to pay off. The playbook I wrote about Okonkwo, he's the tight end actually. I just think he's got a solid
Might be the
floor.
safer play.
Yeah, he's a safer play, but like I could see anybody, Carrier last week caught a touchdown, or 2 weeks ago against Ohio State, the last game they played, he caught a touchdown. But any of these guys, Jones, Cobbs,
I think Cobbs is going to be popular too. I'm seeing him in a lot of projections because of his price. He's probably only 3,200. He probably is your best, but once again, these all volatile guys. We don't even know what we saw Raheem Jarrett. But he was like 80% owned there the 1 week, and
yeah,
I like the Okonkwo call actually. So he's had 14 targets in the last 3 games. Not bad. At 12 catches.
That's what I'm saying. His floor is just a little bit better than like you would think. I just think like he's become like a safety valve for Talia Tagovailoa. He's like being the tight end, just those shorter routes. So I don't mind that. So the rest of the receivers here, where are you looking at? Especially if we're paying up for quarterbacks and running backs. It's tough to pay. I think like David Bell is always a great play.
Yeah.
If you can get him in, it seems like even the lower scoring games that Purdue plays in, he's still getting his catches. He's still like just a huge matchup problem for any defense that he's playing. So I like him for sure at the top end if you're going there. But how about these lower guys?
I'm all over it. Jaden. I'm looking at Jaden Hazelwood because I have more interest in Jaden Hazelwood, of course, now after the other guys out. Ja'Cory Pearson. He must have left 30 DK points on the field last week. His drops. and I played him, and he could have really had a huge game. So I like.
Listen,
Pearson.
that's 2 straight weeks that he's like I think he had a couple penalties, and he was in the doghouse, and he got benched.
That makes your question too, though, is with all these drops, is he going to be in the doghouse? So I do like him. I like Pearson just because of the price. I like the neighbor's price on LSU. I think that's one of your top value plays. I said Altman Bell. I'm starting to like Hazelwood more because of just GDPs was Oklahoma. Nobody there to throw the ball to. I'm just looking at some of these cheaper guys.
The one guy,
Johnson, Michigan.
Yeah, I'm interested in the UCLA receivers going against Oregon's pass D. Because if you're playing Thompson Robinson, you can easily pair him with either the tight end Dulcich or Kyle Phillips, who's questionable.
Pair see if you're running DTR in your main lineup, do you need to pair a Dulcich or Phillips? No, right? You run DTR naked in cash.
Yeah, you can because of his rushing for sure. I just like the matchup against Oregon's pass D that's been a little shaky. So I think like either one or both of those. And Dulcich is a guy that he's too cheap at 4,800 because he's got the ceiling and he's been catching a couple touchdowns, but he's got the kind of that floor ceiling combo, and he seems to always show up in like the best those marquee games that UCLA has. He had his best game this year was against Arizona State in their toughest game, and against LSU he had a big game. I remember last year he always had a big game whenever they were playing like their best opponents. And this is another one. It's going to be game days there. It's going to be their national game. I don't mind that play at all. Dulcich at 4,800, but Kyle Phillips. If we get word that he's in, and it's a little tough because he's questionable. And
I think I saw a tweet that he's playing.
Yeah, I would think he would.
Okay, I saw a tweet from saying on College Game Day. They said that Kiffin is still calling Corral game time, but expects him to play. So he's playing.
Yeah, he's gonna play.
This kid for
it's just gamesmanship, you know.
Definitely. This kid for Clemson. This Aju. Is that how you say it? Aju. He's with he's starting now with I just drew a blank. And who's out? The kid that's the guy that's out.
Yeah, Joseph Nada's out with COVID.
Ladson's doubtful. EJ Williams doubtful. So
I think
Aju plays at 3K.
I don't mind that either. Yeah, I mean, so the Clemson offense, they're starting to just get their young guys involved because I think they realize like we need to figure out what's happening for next year.
Yep.
And what we have for next year, and so like guys like him and Davis Allen, the younger tight end,
he's another
he had 8 catches last week out of nowhere, and he's a guy that's Dabo Sweeney's been saying we need to get him more work. But yeah, any of those guys, it's like Clemson offense. It seems like we're just waiting for it to break out, but who knows? I mean, maybe the game against Pitt where they might be trailing is going to make them pass more. So
true.
I like that.
About receivers, I mean, Jordan Addison, he has Clemson, but Addison. I think Addison's matchup proof. And he's going to be like a security blanket ticket today. So,
yeah, the thing with the Pitt offense, it's always just scares me to face anyone against Clemson's defense. Yeah. Because the thing with Clemson, it's like their offense is really shaky, and who knows what you're gonna get from them. But the thing that's been true all year basically is the defense has been really good. Yeah. So like that's what's keeping them in games still. But that
Sean Tucker still had a good game though. SU, my man. Surprisingly, when they play SU last week or week before?
I think it was last week. Yeah, it was like game, right? It was like a week Friday night maybe. Yeah.
Right.
The one guy I wanted to mention, by the way, is Charlie Kohler from Iowa State. This guy should not be below 5K. I don't understand it.
He's always a cash play, I think. I mean, he's not the greatest matchup, but I think
he's got at least 4 catches in every single game this year, and just is especially in this game against Oklahoma State, he's going to be a guy that's going to just probably be looked at a lot from Purdy just to get those easier completions.
I think he's gonna be. You're right. I think he's be heavily involved. And you can't.
He should be popular.
4 or 5. He
should be popular, right? Yeah.
He's safe.
Yeah, he's pretty safe in my opinion. I don't know anybody else that you're looking at that we didn't mention.
No, the only other name I mentioned it earlier though. I do have interest in Jacory Roberson at 6'4". I think that he's still too cheap. I think he's too cheap. That big week is coming. I know we told everybody we're off the quarterback, but I do like Roberson's price. He's got that huge bang on these weeks. No, Pierce is in play.
By the way,
pretty much it.
By the way, I just wanted to get this in before we sign off. You mentioned you liked Scour Thompson earlier. It looks like Taj Brooks is in uniform going to play.
Does that downgrade Sir Roderick a little bit?
Yeah, definitely downgrade Sir Roderick because Brooks was the starter when he was in there. And now he's back healthy for the first time since week 3. So, you just don't know how they're going to split up that work in the backfield. And presumably Brooks, will step back into more carries, but we'll see. But I mean, GPP, why not? Because the people will probably be off of him now, but. And that's a noon game coming up in about 30 minutes.
I'm seeing if I missed any news before we sign. I don't see any breaking news.
Nothing huge. I'm sure we'll get something soon. But as we always say, you guys just stay tuned to the Discord because we're throwing any injury news that we see in there, especially for these late games. We got the 3:30 kickoffs coming up later. So that'll be all news dump around 3:00 that we'll have. So stay tuned for that. Last word.
You do want to pay attention to the corral. You never know. So we want to.
Yeah, the corral news is obviously something we'll be tracking. So if he's out, let hell break loose on your lineups because everyone's going to play. And it would be interesting to see if we have a clear starter in that room. So
I may end up going to DTR. So
there you go. Yeah, the DTR is just staring at us in the face here.
Yeah, I think it's too cheap. DTR day.
All right, Pete. Well, appreciate it as always. Joining us here on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, good luck. To week 8. So
it'll
be Thanksgiving. We'll be talking bowl games, and we'll be talking some college hoops. Best time of the year, man.
Yeah, that's coming up in a couple of weeks here for sure. Appreciate you guys all watching us in the live stream as you guys always do, and interacting on the Discord as you guys always do, and we love that. So. Yeah, go check out Pete's Night Slate playbook coming up for tonight's game. So we got some entertaining games. Alabama back in action.
Yeah,
I was looking at that one.
It's actually a good slate. It was a tough slate. I did that example lineup. It was a tough slate to do those pre-lineups, but it's a really good slate. And I'll have some additions to the playbook in Discord as the day goes on. So
love it. Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, check that out for Pete tonight, and I'm sure he'll help you build some lineups in Discord, and obviously any injury news for that slate that we have coming out. So there's always something. All right. Well, Pete, thanks as always, and everyone out there, good luck today, and have some fun watching college.
Good luck, everyone.
All right. See ya.
All right. Thanks.